All right. Welcome back to Caught in the Spokes. We are starting the new year with one of my favorite people in the world. This is my friend Princley, and Princley is probably one of my best friends. I wanted to give him an opportunity to share his story. I first met Princley through through a page called care.com when I was looking for a personal attendant, and the universe sent him right to me and me to him. And so I first met him when I moved out of my parents' house, and um, I needed to find good care, and that's how I met him. So today he's going to be sharing a little bit about his story and life experiences and how he has been caught in the spokes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor, Princely.
All right.
Give you an opportunity to kind of tell everybody where you grew up and a little bit about you.
Well, like Emily already said, my name is Princley Besong. I I was born in a small village in Cameroon. You know, you always said Nigeria when we first met. I always tried to correct you and said Cameroon, but you went along with Nigeria. So eventually, over time, we kept talking about Nigeria. But I was born in Cameroon, which is right next to Nigeria. It's a small village. You know, that's where I grew up. You know, I stayed in that village for about until I was like age 10. After my mom passed away, this uncle took me to a city called Limbe, which is in southwest Cameroon. I spent about 3 years there before I had another uncle in the United States that brought me to this side of the world. And I've been out here ever since in the US.
Yeah. What was how how was that transition for you to come from Cameroon all the way to the US?
Oh, it was a big transition. It's a lot of stuff that is different over here. Um, you know, first of all, I've never been in a big old airport like that. So when I landed at the airport, things were different. The environment was different. People dressed different. Um, People talk different. I was at first nervous. It took me about, I would say, at least 2, 3 years before I started to get used to the environment.
Yeah. Do you want to share the story about what you noticed in the airport?
Oh yeah. I think when I landed at the airport, you know, I noticed that people dress different. You know, there's this the sagging part because that is something I had never seen. I'm sure it happens in Africa, but I had never seen that. So at first, when I saw people having their pants all the way down, I thought maybe they had pooped or something. I don't know. And then eventually, I started to see it more and more. I said, "Oh, that's the way of dressing out here." Yeah.
I always say that because anytime you've shared that story with me, it's always cracked me up. Um, but yeah, I'd love to know if you could tell me a little bit about a time where you felt obviously that transition was huge for you, very life changing, and I'd love to know, a time that you have where you felt like you were caught in the spokes with a major setback that you overcame. It could be while you were there, here, or even transitioning.
You know, when I first moved, you know, I was born in poverty, extreme poverty. You know, losing a parent at a very young age. You know, there were days when we went to bed without a meal. Um, you know, when I moved into the city, it was still hard. You know, I lived with this uncle that, you know, it was hard. There was constant beatings, which, you know, I was always in my head, you know, just thinking about where I came from, if life was ever going to be better for me. Um, I was always in my head. There were times when I used to cry to bed. depression and all of that. I think it's the basic, things that a lot of us experience in life. Um, I think I overcame that part of my life when I found out that I was coming to America. That was where I was like, oh, finally something good, something positive, you know, um, is finally happening to me. I came to America, you know, and then I was happy again for a second, and then I, moved in with another uncle where it started to go bad again, and I was like, I didn't understand why I kept hitting these walls, you know.
Yeah, bumps in the road, really. Um, how um how did you how did you hold on to the light at the end of the tunnel, if you could even see that?
I think it's just by having hope, having hope. Um, music, music is a big part. I listen to music. Um, music that is telling a story. The lyrics are actually telling a story. Touching music. Um, I also have this memory of my mom in my head, that keeps me going. Just an image of her. There are times when I dream about her. I think she's a big part that has kept me going, despite the obstacles that I face throughout life.
Yeah, I so believe that. I feel like, when we think about just like even coping with depression and rough times, I think music is such a it's free. Music is free and it's freeing. It's a place where our minds can go. Um, when it's almost like a form of disassociation, and I think it's natural to do that, especially when you're in the midst of hell. It's a place where you can go not only to just relieve some suffering that you're in, but also as a reminder that I can keep doing this. There's going to be better days ahead, and I'm glad that music has been helpful for you. It certainly has for me. Um, how do you feel like? Well, for one, do you feel like that was a pivotal moment in your life that certainly shaped who you are today?
I think so. I think you know um, growing up with my mom and growing up with my grandmother, these two individuals they were good people. They had a heart of gold. They cared about people. I think that is what shaped me, the person that I am today too. Care so much about people, care about their feelings. Yeah, I think that's it. Those
Yeah.
two individuals. Yeah.
Well, I love that you, despite the people that were in your life that were not good to you, I'm glad that there were people in your life that were. Sometimes all it takes is one or two people, um, to keep us going. And we certainly don't forget those people. Um, so they're like our Mother Teresa's on Earth,
Yeah.
and I'm sure in a lot of ways your mom and your grandma um, were that for you. Um, there was something I was gonna say. Cut. Um, um, can so going through all of this, right? Okay, so you move from Cameroon, you move in with this one uncle, he's terrible. Then you move in with the other, they're terrible. At what point was there ever a time where you felt like I've got to make this difficult decision?
Yes. Um, you know, moving from one person to the other, I had to make that decision to just, step out into the world by myself and just, just hope for the best. Just make it happen. I was terrified at times, but I felt that, I had God plus my grandmother's image and my mom. I felt they were always with me. That
Their
was
presence.
that was a hard decision. Just to step out there, work hard and just learn not to depend on anybody but myself.
What did that look like for you to be able to do that?
Ooh, um, it's when I look back now, I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it. Because when I think about what I've been through and where I am today, um, that was a tough time. I don't know how I did it, honestly. I don't know how I did it.
I feel like that's so relatable, especially for people in the world that have been in unimaginable circumstances, right? I mean, you transition from all the way from the other side of the world to another side, and the psychological, not just the physical abuse, but the psychological abuse, the aftermath of that, still, I'm sure, being traumatized and stepping out on faith. It's almost like what's the word when you not a state. I mean, you could call it hypervigilance, but even a state of like fight or flight, you
Yeah.
know, where it's like, this situation is so miserable, but I've got to figure out how to dig myself up out of it. And I believe that I definitely believe that your mom and grandma were motivating or motivators for you to be able to do that. And you do get to a place where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you find a way to rise. And that process is not easy, you know. Um, I wanted to ask you a little bit. So you did that. I know you went to college. Can you tell everybody where you went?
So I went to, first of all, I went to Creekside High School, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. From there, I moved to Alabama and went to an HBCU called Alabama State University. Yeah, I took College of Sciences and rehabilitation. I had my bachelor over there. The goal was to become a counselor, but at some point after graduation, I was like, I don't think it's for me.
Yeah.
So after I got the degree, I just kind of put that to the side, and took a different path.
Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that path. You had mentioned earlier just what you've been through. It shapes you. You gain more empathy through tragedy. You gain empathy through having great role models from having shitty role models. And I wanted to ask you how you got started in the field of healthcare, how you made that transition of, no, I don't want to do the rehabilitation counseling. I'm going to go into the field of healthcare.
I think for me, it started in the village that I was born. Um, I was the primary care for my grandmother. She was aging. There was nobody there. I was, helping her with, basic needs like, shower, fetching water, helping her with like the cooking. If she needs something, I'm there to help her. I help her to get up. I think that's where I developed that that passion for care.
Yeah.
When she passed, I just I just continued. The I think that part of me of just caring about people, I think it's always been there. Sometimes you're either born with it or not. There's certain
Mm.
traits that we're born with.
Oh yeah, I
With
believe
me,
that.
I was just born with that. I just that compassion for people. It
Yeah.
don't matter what kind of job, as long as it involves helping people, making them feel comfortable, welcome. That's where you see me. That's where I see myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you shine.
Oh yeah.
And you certainly are the best caregiver and one of the best friends I've ever had. And I'm feel so blessed to have you in my life because I do believe that, not everybody is born uh with that, and I don't know why that is, but I do feel that, you know, that you were kind of already born with that. And I know going through all of those struggles um, only probably made you even more compassionate, because when you know struggle, and you see others struggling, you naturally want to help. Um, so, um, okay, so in the field of caregiving, you've taken care of a lot of people. Um, I know you have lots of stories on that. I would love to know what your personal experience has been like with caregiving, and it'll be kind of a loaded question, but your personal experiences and the misconceptions about this field.
Um, you know, caregiving, you have to have, it's a field where you got to have that heart for. It requires a lot of patience. Being in this field, I have encountered a lot of people that, they thought they could do caregiving. But once they get in there and see what it takes to be a caregiver, they quickly realize, like, okay, this is not for me. Because it requires a lot of patience, it requires compassion, it requires somebody that knows how to control their emotions. If you are
Yeah.
quick temper, caregiving is not for you.
It is a
It's
not
not.
at the patient's kind
Yeah,
of sassy
it's not.
attitude too.
It's not because I've worked I've worked with a lot of clients in different companies where I see different caregivers come in and out. They come in there and see what it takes, what the job is all about. They're just like, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Take for instance my younger brother. He thought he was gonna be a caregiver,
Mm.
and the company I used to work for back in Alabama, he
Yeah.
went in there. I put in a good word for him. He got hired. He came in there. Within the first day, he quit. He was
He
like,
said,
"Nah,
"No,
this is
bueno."
not for me." And he went. He came home. He's like, I don't know how you do it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It is not, it's not an
it's not
easy
for
job.
everybody. Yeah.
And I think a lot of it too is, being able to have the personality or temperament to be able to adjust to the different needs,
Oh yeah.
right? Because no two people are alike. Um, but I'd love to know, and you and I have talked about this before, about, the field of caregiving too. People are very underpaid.
Oh yeah.
They are not treated, caregivers are not treated the way that they should be treated.
That's true. That is true. Like I said earlier, that I've worked in different companies. That is, I think that's one of the fields that requires um, a higher pay.
Yeah.
Because what some of these companies out here are paying right now is terrible. Because when you think about you caring for somebody, you
Yeah.
come in there. There's shower, medication. There's chores. The whole grooming,
Yeah.
companionship, transportation,
Yeah.
and the list just goes on and on and on. You have some companies out here that are paying $7.50 an hour.
Yeah. 50 cents an hour
Yeah.
really is what it feels like.
Yeah, then when you work with a client that is difficult, it even makes it harder.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a field where the caregivers need a higher pay, at
They
least
absolutely
something,
do.
maybe like 17 and up is a reason.
I'm thinking like 30 an hour and
30.
up, because it's like it's not just, it's emotionally exhausting even if you love what you do, right? I mean, a job is a job. We love it, but people do get tired, and when you factor in the emotional exhaustion also with the physical labor, like for instance, I know when you were caring for me, you were, having to pick me up a lot, and that's not easy to do. Then you think, you've got, 90-year-olds with dementia, and you give them the wrong breakfast and they're going to spit on you, and
Yeah.
cuss you out. And
Oh yeah.
so it's like,
Oh yeah.
it is a hard job, and
It is.
I really, I'm glad that this is a topic that we're kind of bringing to light, because I think a lot of people out there think that, if their loved one gets injured or they get sick, that they're automatically taken care of. You just call an agency, and the angels of wings will be on their way. And it's a process, and I don't I think there is a lot of improvement that could be made. I think that caregivers should have paid dental health insurance. There should be more. There has to be more incentive. There's that's why I felt like I just won the lottery with having you as a caregiver at one point, because I feel like you really were somebody that did it from the heart. And I've had my fair share of caregivers, just like you've had your fair share of rotten clients. And not everybody is in it for the heart, but also the lack of pay can also, deter a person from holding themselves together for very long. Um, so, but, and I'm glad that we've been able to transition, into a friendship, because I feel like we've learned a lot together, in the world of care and whatnot. Um, how has this experience kind of affected the trajectory of your life? How has it affected you?
Can you rephrase it?
Just so the trajectory, like the road that you're on, the path that you're on, being in the field of caregiving, how has it affected you mentally, and just thinking about your future as well?
Well, has it shaped me? That's a hard one.
Okay.
How has it shaped? Um, I think I was already a caring person, somebody who has compassion. I think this field has just made me aware. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's made me aware of myself, of especially my weakness for people.
Yeah.
Seeing people in pain, um, seeing people that, just in people that need. mm, I'm losing my thoughts.
It's okay. Just
Yeah,
that extra assistance
yeah, extra
too.
assistance. Yeah, um, I think it has just shaped me into a better person. You know, um, just shaped me into a better person. Just to, I guess, to care more.
Yeah. And I think, you said a good word, aware. We got a lot of folks out here that are not aware. So, but when you go through immense hardships and you encounter the suffering of others, you do become very aware. In a sense to it, I think it helps us realize that we're not alone in our own pain. And I think the part of us that maybe at some point in our lives needed help, it's almost like a way of giving back too. So awareness is certainly obtained through uh, the darkest of times. I feel like in my own life I've become more aware, not when things were going great, but when they were going pretty bad. Um, so, what's one thing that you've learned about yourself along the journey of life, your journey?
What have I learned about myself? I think life, my challenges, the challenges I've faced in life, um, has helped me to, um, mm, again, losing my
It's
thoughts.
all right. Cut. Cut. Because our brains are getting foggy. It's all right. We're just getting stage fright.
Stage right, yeah, that's what it is. Because I know that camera is there.
But that's okay. Just we just gotta think about just anything that you've learned about yourself. Obviously, you mentioned awareness.
what have I learned about myself?
Yeah, tap into your strengths because you
Mm,
got them.
yeah, let's see. Well, I think it's probably just what I said earlier. Um, I think it's I've just learned that I care too much. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I get my strength, some of my strength from helping people. Um, I get my strength from, from just believing in myself
Yeah,
that I can do it.
yeah.
Despite, the challenges that I'm facing now and maybe the challenges ahead of me. Yeah, I think I've just learned that I'm stronger, than I thought.
Oh, yeah. Life will do that to you. You think you can't do it anymore, and life's like, no, come on, we're dragging you by the feet. Let's go. And you mentioned too, like, uh, what did you say a while ago on caring too much?
Yes.
There is a fine line between care because it's like the saying goes, the giver's got to set limits because the takers don't have any. And I think sometimes when people are in stages or moments of their life that are like survival, people can act in ways that they normally wouldn't. And when you have such a caring heart, uh, you just have to be careful because people with really caring hearts will give and give and give until they have no more to give. And so I think too it's a balance of learning, how can I give without depleting my own batteries, right? How can I give to you if I don't first give to myself? And so there's a fine line too between selflessness and selfish. Sometimes you got to be a little selfish to be a little selfless. um, and this is we could go on and on about that topic, because yeah, it's about balance. And when you say I've learned, that I'm stronger than I thought, I think a lot of people can relate to that sentence of, yeah, I didn't think I could do it. It's just like when you thought about your life being in Africa before you came here and that transition. And there are times that we go through and we get out of, the third circle of hell, because that's what it feels like sometimes. We get out of that and it's like, man, you look back and it's like, how did I do that? How did I get out of that? But, I believe that your higher self, it you carry yourself, in a lot of ways, and even carrying those with you that are no longer here, remembering who they were and the influence that they made on your life can be a very big motivator to press on. So, I wanted to ask you what makes you passionate? What keeps you or gets you motivated?
What gets me motivated? Um, Hope,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that is what keeps all of us going.
Mm-hmm.
That one word, hope. Because once you lose it, it's done.
Yeah,
It's done.
it's a dark
Yeah,
rabbit
once you
hole.
lose hope, everything just turns black. So that is just what I hold on to. Hope that, okay, tomorrow will be better. It's going to be better. There's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. You
Mm-hmm.
just got to keep grinding, just keep going, because I can't
Mm-hmm.
lose that. Once I lose that hope, that's it.
I tell you, sometimes it can feel like we're caught in those spokes a little too long. But at some point, the wheels got to stop turning and we get off the merry-go-round and take a breather. And then sometimes do it all over again. But we learn so much through that. We learn a lot through hardships and whatnot. And I think that hope is certainly something that a lot of people can identify with. You're right. When you don't have hope, um, that's when the bad thoughts creep in. And I feel like they can still come and go. Emotions are just they just come and go, and but hope is something that I think always remains deep within us. It's like almost instinctual to hold on to hope. So Well, we're gonna close with, I wanted to ask you, what is one piece of advice that you could share with our listeners to remind them that despite getting caught in the spokes of their own life, that we can overcome our hardships.
Um, just I just want to say that we all have our obstacles in this life. We all go through a lot. We go through the different phases of life. You just gotta hang on and just pray. Just pray for a better tomorrow. Look within yourself to see, what is that one thing that makes you happy when you think about. For some people, it could be an achievement. For some people, it could be um, a loved one. It could be music or whatever. Just hang on to that one thing or multiple things, that gives you joy when you think about it. Hold on to that and just pray to God, and you'll be okay.
I love that. Everyone has to have something to believe in, and when you said earlier about believing in yourself, I think, you know, I definitely want to end this with, you have to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in you, how could anybody else believe in you? And it's almost like a chain reaction, when you can see someone believe in themselves, how encouraging is that for you to know that, hey, maybe I can believe in myself too, because there is no dream too big. You can do anything in this life that you want to do. And it even goes back to purpose, finding a purpose. What do I want to do in this world? Finding out, what did I come here to do in this life? And I think that that is an ongoing process, of learning, you know, why the hell am I here? So anyway, well, I sure appreciate you coming on the podcast, Princely, and you're you're a wonderful human being, and I'm so blessed to know you, and I appreciate you sharing your story with everyone. So, if you're not already liking and subscribing and following, you better click that button,
I know
because we
that's
got
right.
more coming next week.
Yeah.